it's Brittany Jackson from Learning Technologies, and today I'm going to talk to you about the glossary feature here in Moodle. So here I am in the Moodle playground as usual, and if I come up here, I've turned on the little editing button, and once it's red, I can see that I can edit things in here. So if I scroll down to the topic area I want to go to, I'm going to go down to the next one down here, mostly because that one's getting full, and I'm going to click in the topic area that I want. I'm going to find the Add an Activity or Resource button, and I'm going to click on that, and then here we're going to select the glossary feature here. So if you go ahead and open this, again, as always, you have to put a name, of course, and you can put a description and whether or not you want to display that description on the course page, just like usual. And is this a global glossary? So are these all linked to each other, or is it only an administrator can put in as a glossary? I tend to say it's a global glossary, and then if it's a secondary glossary or a main glossary. So in this case, a main glossary is entries from a secondary glossary that could be imported, or there could just be one main glossary in a course. I want my students to collaborate all together, so I'm going to put that there's just one main glossary in this course. If I drop down here, the entries options, here I can be approved by default, always allow editing if I wanted them to always be able to edit it, duplicate entries if two people were putting in the same entry for the same word, or allowing comments on those entries, and automatically linking glossary entries. So these are all options that you can modify and change. And the appearance, you can change the display format so that it looks like it's continuous without an author. It's more like an encyclopedia, an entry list, FAQs, full with the author or full without the author, or a simple dictionary style. So I tend to probably go with the simple dictionary style, but any of those, if depending on what I wanted them to do, might be more appropriate. And then the approval display format, how do you want to be able to approve things? Same options. So I'm going to make them the same, and I could have kept it as the default, which would keep it the same as the display format. And then how many definitions per page? So in this case, 10, that's probably about right for the class I want to include this in. And show alphabet links, so the letters across the top, right? A, B, C, so they can search by letter if they needed to. And all of the definitions as well. So if you leave the all link on, they'll be able to see all of them if they wanted to. They could click on an all option. And there's also one for a special link, which participants could then browse it by special characters. And you can also allow print view, so if you want students to be able to print them off, or if you want to be able to print them off, you can display a print view, which is a little bit easier to navigate than it might be printing from the web page itself. If we come down here to outcomes, I tend to jump over that one. Ratings, so if you want to be able to rate your students, and if you tell them they each have to post 2 definitions, if you come in here, I normally would do something like sum of ratings, and I tell them that each one is worth 10 points total, but 5 points each if I wanted them to do 2. So sum of ratings, total number of points they can earn is 10, and I'm going to put this in the assignments category because that's where it goes. Then you could enter in information on the grade to pass if you wanted to. Again, just like all the others, I tend to leave all of these as the default and don't even open them. Again, restrict access if you wanted to restrict it to a particular person or group, you could do that as well here. And once you've got that set up, you can click Save and Return to Course. And once we get there, we come back out here and we scroll down to the bottom, and we can see here our definitions of course, and we've got that pink folder on folder look to it. And if we click on that, here we can see, okay, so here's the special characters, here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, those things that we were talking about. Right now it's listed to be all. You could also set up categories, so you could add categories to this as well, browsing by alphabet, and you can then click here and your students would see this piece, add a new one. So is the word or the concept, least measure, success. And so they'd have to put in a concept and they'd have to put in a definition, or you would, either one. Depending on the concept, if there's keywords, they could put those in. If there's an image that is associated with it or some file that would make sense to attach, they can do that here as well. And then auto linking, I tend to leave this as is, and tags, I don't typically put anything in. My students could too, but most of the time those two are kind of ignored. And once I hit save changes on this, now I can see here that I've got tests and ways to measure in a course. I'm going to add one more in here. What is it? Ways to measure success in the course. So same thing, just quizzes this time. Again, I'm going to keep all the rest of that the same, and I'm going to hit save changes. And so now I can see out here I've got quizzes, and if I click on T, I've got test. If I click on all, I have quizzes, Q, and T, test. So now you can see the definitions as they come in. So this is a useful tool. If you have a bunch of definitions that your students are going to need to memorize, maybe it's a biology class and there are terms or features that they need to understand and know. Maybe it's chemistry and there's different compounds that they have to have memorized or something. and they can collaborate together, and you could assign each of them to put in an entry, and you could go in and approve, or you could go in and edit it and tell them, look, that's a little funky, because what you can do is when they show up here as the instructor, you've got this little link that'll take you just directly to that particular one, a delete feature in case you needed it, and you can edit the entry here. And so if they put in their definition, you might want to add in and say, close, but don't forget to also think about other words to measure success. Again, I'm making that up. I'm not sure if that even makes sense. If I hit save changes, now we've got quizzes, and now it tells us, don't forget to include this. So really that's all there is to utilizing the glossary tool in Moodle. It's a great collaboration tool. I'd highly encourage finding new ways to use it. As always, if you have questions or run into issues, feel free to reach out to us here in Learning Technologies. We are located in the Tech and Trek office on the main floor of the library, just before the Clock Tower Cafe. And as always, happy Moodling.